taxes, and eye emojis. What do they all have in common? They're all inevitable. What in the hell is Blake Ruffino talking about? Well, nevertheless, good morning. Glad to have you in here with us. Got to be early this morning and doing a show early this morning, mainly due to the fact we got a Christmas party tonight. Kids got to open presents. We're going over to the in-laws' house. We got Christmas. Christmas time is here. I got Christmas green on. We got a Christmas coffee mug ready to go that says Merry Christmas. I hope all of you are in the Christmas spirit. I know that I am. But there's three things you never doubt: death, taxes, and eye emojis when they hit the AYS Sports Twitter account. It's yesterday around 10:30, 11 a.m., it came to my knowledge, or somebody had let me know, I'll just put it like that Ole Miss running backs coach Kevin Smith was in the building, which all in told encompasses what we probably already knew, since Frank Wilson was going to Ole Miss and going to be their running backs coach. Kevin Smith was going to make his way down to Baton Rouge. Now your entire offensive staff is whole. Basically, all of Lane's offensive staff at Ole Miss is following him to Baton Rouge. So we'll break down the Kevin Smith move and running backs, why I still see some pushback on this and why I think it's a massive deal that Kevin Smith is going to be your running backs coach. We'll get into that. More on Sterling Lucas as well for your interior of your offensive line. We'll talk about the portal, as Lane Kiffin keeps telling everybody this is going to be a massive week. I'll tell you why that is going to be. We'll talk about the portal as well. Some key players you may be going after. Are you going after Chaz Coleman, the defensive end from Penn State, or is he going to go to Ohio State? Can you get in the mix there? We got lots that we need to discuss. A couple of ways for you to get involved in the show. Become a member on the YouTube channel. Just like Eric Crosby did right here, you can become a member on the YouTube channel. This is what I'd say. If you are a avid listener, I would assume that we're going to give you a Christmas present on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. You need to be a member to be able to do it. You can also do us a favor and send in super chats, or you can just send in comments, whichever one that you want to do. It is the holiday season, but if you want to get involved in the show, that's what you can do. But as we get started, as we get rolling here, do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook, it's all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Do me a favor. Stop right now. Go to your YouTube, hit the subscribe button. While everyone is at Christmas with you this week, tell them, listen, you're an LSU fan. You need to go over to AYS Sports and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. If you're listening to us on audio podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. Good morning. Go Tigers, says Aaron Miller. Good to have you in here with us, buddy. Good to have you in here with us. Tech Phenom says Merry Christmas. Blake, Merry Christmas to you as well. Triple D says my body is ready. Well, my body's ready for Christmas too. My body is ready for Christmas too. Mike Howard says, damn, Rob, gotta get to feeling better, dude. What's up with Rob? Oh, no. Rob has the flu, says, good morning, I have the flu and it sucks. Yeah, Rob, I feel you. The Ruffinos had it last week. My wife is getting it during Christmas. It's a horrible day to have the flu. So we're with you, man. Hopefully you get better, but you're in here. You are in here, and we got a lot of stuff that we need to talk about. So get better from the flu. Pound Tylenol, brother. Pound medicine. What they recommend, take a little bit more. That's all I can tell you. So Michael is in Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way, the 318-31 great. Yes, where is everyone listening to us from this morning? Fat with a $100 super chat says, I never get to watch live, so I wanted to show some love. Merry Christmas to the Ruffinos. Well, first off, send me your address. We'll be sending something to you on this Christmas holiday season. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the massive super chat. I'm glad that you're able to watch live. Yeah, a lot of people hit us up and like, hey, we can never really watch live because, we got family and things going on. We always have to watch the replay, and I feel you. The one YouTube show that I watch, I never get to catch it live either. But I feel you. In fact, I'm really glad that you're in here, and thank you. Thank you so much for sending in the massive super chat. I hope that you have a blessed holiday season and a very, very Merry Christmas to you and yours. Yes, we We got a Christmas party tonight. We are dressing. I'll post it on social media. We got something for you guys. I'm just going to tell you. But thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the super chat. It means the world to me, man. Thank you so much. What's the one YouTube show that you watch? Yeah, Josh Pate. Yeah, that's the only one that I keep up with. Be main with you. It's the only one that I watch, really. Over the last, I'd say, year and a half, Josh and I have become pretty good friends, and he's a friend of the show. I'm a friend of his, and so we support one another. We talk a lot off air, so it's really the only one that I watch. Him and Chris Phillips, really, over at SEC Unfiltered are my two guys. So anyway, all right, let's get rolling here. You're not here to listen to what I watch on YouTube. You're here to hear about LSU staff stuff. So let's get into it now. Again, everyone do me a favor, hit the like and share to all those groups if you're on Facebook, and to subscribe down below if you are on YouTube. Every AY show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Stupid A&M. Shouldn't have betted A&M, but I did, and when I did the parlay on FanDuel. Little $5 parlay. Didn't hurt nobody, but they did not win it for me. But you can go over with our good friends and partners over at FanDuel. Download the app today for any thoughts, questions, concerns. Go over to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. Let me get to a quick break. LSU staff talk. We got a lot to get into. We do it next. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man. He's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler. He'll shoot you straight.
Hey, guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone, and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. We're back. Moneybags Penn Jones with a $200 super chat says, Merry Christmas to the Ruffino family from mine. Penn Jones, greatly appreciative of you, my man. Merry Christmas to you. You have been a loyal listener for a long time. You have been awesome to me. Penn Jones has been here from the very beginning, from literally the very beginning. Penn's been here through the great times, the great growth. He's been here through the bad times, you know. And so, Penn, you know that I love you, brother. I greatly and am humbled that you sent us this, and I hope that your family has a very Merry Christmas. You know, just really quickly, it has been a fantastic year for AYS. It's because of guys like Penn Jones, like Fat. All of you that are in here with us, you make all of this possible. I hope that for an hour, hour and a half, and sometimes even 3 hours, that we could take you away from reality and you and I just get to have a conversation. I am always humbled to have you guys in here. Penn Jones, send me your address, buddy. I'm going to get you something when we launch this merch store. But Penn, you know I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. I'm greatly humbled and honored here. All right. I really am, Penn. Thank you, buddy. Guys, you got to think about it from just my vantage point really quickly. Do you know how humbling it is for when you guys do stuff like this? Guys, I mean, one day we'll have a very blunt conversation about where I came from, what I did. I don't think it's relative right now. I think more time needs to pass. But I just get so humbled every time that y'all do this. Penn, I love you. Fat, I love you. Thank y'all so much. And thank y'all for being so supportive of the show. It's great. I'm greatly humbled and honored. But Penn, DM me your address. All right, let's get moving here. So I wanted to start off in talking about the staff, but I think that we need to back up a little bit before we start talking about the staff moves that LSU is making here. You know, this weekend I thought I thought going into it, boy, what a way to see your new offensive staff than them being in a playoff game right now. Lane Kiffin out, his entire staff at Ole Miss. You got a playoff game. Now, we already saw the Tulane game before. And I could go and have gone on this long tirade of G5 teams not belonging. And it's been misconstrued of what I'm saying. I don't think G5 teams, as a sidebar, I don't think that G5 teams deserve to have an automatic spot in the playoff. Nevertheless, I don't think anyone deserves to have anything given to them when the season is so different for every team that is involved here. You know, I look at Tennessee, who's outside the top 15 of strength of schedule, and guys, they face 4 playoff-worthy teams this season, and they lost to them. They're not going through the same thing as Tulane, just to give you an idea. And I see a lot of Tulane fans making a lot of mentions about, oh, well, we made a playoff and you didn't. Well, LSU only lost to 5, and you gave up 86 points. And, well, let's just call it what it is, in 120 minutes worth of time. And John Summerall looked like he wanted to be anywhere but on the sidelines at Ole Miss yet again. I could go on this long G5 tirade. Go listen to Rufino and Joe if you want to do that. But I thought it was really interesting to see your entire staff offensively, for what it's pretty much worth, go up against Tulane again. Now, we'll see. Are they going to be on the offensive side of New Orleans during the Sugar Bowl when Ole Miss faces off against Georgia on New Year's Day? I don't know. I'm sure that they'll figure all that out. We'll know when they go there. But I think it was a very, very big deal to watch Charlie Weis Jr. and your offensive staff be at Ole Miss during a playoff game, even when it's Tulane, because, boy, they didn't miss a beat. Now, I made a statement on Twitter on Saturday, and I was kind of making a lighthearted joke, and it went over a lot of people's heads, especially if you see it on Facebook, that Lane Kiffin is worth 4 points, meaning the first time that Ole Miss and Tulane faced off, well, Ole Miss beat Tulane 4 more points than what they did this past Saturday. Again, a joke, but a little bit, again, somewhat a little bit serious. But it also shows you a couple of things here. Now Charlie Weis Jr. didn't have Lane Kiffin. And the speculation was, well, Lane's still involved. He's still calling plays. Well, he didn't this time. And damn near the same exact result happened. And when you see guys like Lane Kiffin give up play calling, like Lane Kiffin's done everything, or let me rephrase it. Lane Kiffin, everywhere he's been, has been massively a part of play calling, whether it be at USC the first time or the second time as a head coach, whether it be at Tennessee, whether it be at the Raiders, whether it be at Alabama, whether it be at FAU. And then the one person that he gives over play calling to is a young up-and-comer and a guy who's got a pretty big name in Charlie Weis Jr., and he gives it over to him. For the first time in a playoff-worthy situation, we see Charlie Weis Jr. without Lane Kiffin. And I thought Pete Golding, although he was trying to take a dig at Lane Kiffin, I thought Charlie Weis Jr. did exactly what Pete Golding said. Hey, man, everybody looks at us offensively and says, this is all Lane Kiffin, and Charlie Weis goes out there and does a fantastic job, which is why Lane Kiffin brought his entire staff. So I watch a playoff game and say to myself, yes, is Lane Kiffin massively going to be involved in play calling at LSU? Sure. But there's a reason the first guy that he wanted to bring with him is Charlie Weis Jr., because look what he just did again. One of the best offenses in the country. I mean, did they look a little bit rusty? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But they put up the same, damn near the same exact amount of points against an opponent that they faced earlier in the season, not to go on a G5 tirade here. But it's not just Charlie Weis Jr. that you're looking at. You know, I could look at Charlie Weis and say to myself, man, you wouldn't have really known that Lane was off of the sidelines from an outright play calling standpoint. He did a lot of things they was taught. They ran tempo. There's some other wrinkles that I thought Charlie Weis Jr. brought in. Absolutely. But I look at this and say to yourself and say to myself, or what you should say to yourself and what I say to myself, I look at LSU's new offensive staff based off of what they did at Ole Miss over the last 6 seasons. I look at what Lane Kiffin has been his entire career, and I look at a playoff game that just happened and say to myself, what a hell of a offensive staff that you are brought in. Now, yesterday, LSU released a video that showed the entire offensive staff coming back from Oxford after a playoff game, which included someone that not everybody kind of speculated that would be coming, but pretty much now making final. Yesterday, around 10:30, 11 a.m., I had been notified that Kevin Smith, the Ole Miss running backs coach, was on LSU's campus, that he had come with the other coaches and that he was in Baton Rouge and he was in the facility, and that Lane Kiffin was very giddy, from what I was told, that Kevin Smith came down with this offensive staff and is going to be a part of his LSU staff. And I tweeted out the eye emojis. And I said, and I made a joke earlier, that 3 things you don't doubt: death, taxes, and AYSI emojis. I had just been told around 10:30, and then even going into 11, getting it confirmed that Kevin Smith had come with the offensive staff to Baton Rouge. So I wrapped that up, and we'll talk about Kevin Smith a little bit more in just a moment. But to wrap all of that up in a bow, I watched the game on Saturday. Yes, Lane Kiffin was not there. Yes, they didn't score as many points. But yes, you have that entire offensive staff that was top 5 in the country in total offense, with a defensive coordinator that had a hand tied behind his back that you retained to Blake Baker, and say to myself, guys, I don't know if you don't have one of the best overall staffs in the entire SEC. You know, Blake Baker had a top 25 defense, remolding it and reshaping it from 108th in the country under Matt House to getting it to a top 25 unit with everything that he was able to do, and keeping Lane Kiffin to the lowest point totals over the last 2 years. When Lane Kiffin has faced off against 2 opponents, no one's been able to do that to Lane Kiffin besides what Blake Baker did. Oh, and by the way, this year offensively, you stunk. You absolutely stunk. So you retained a really good top 25 total defensive team with the staff who's got guys like Corey Raymond and Kevin Peoples and Jake Olson that are on it. And I look what they did with an offense that could not move the football and still was a top 25 unit. What would this team have been with an offensive staff and players and personnel that what Ole Miss had, or what Lane Kiffin is about to do now at LSU? I look at LSU's staff from top to bottom on both sides of the football. So you mean to tell me that an Ole Miss offensive staff that was top 5 in the country in total offense now is in Baton Rouge with a defensive staff who reorchestrated and built a top 25 defense? Sign me up. So I look around the SEC and I look at A&M having to replace everybody. I look at Florida having to replace an entire staff as well. I look at so many different teams. I look at Alabama and saying that their co-offensive coordinator is out of the building. So a lot of teams are going through transitions in a lot of situations. Oklahoma can still not move the football when it matters the most, and they couldn't really move it against you. So collectively, if you're asking me as a staff, what LSU has pulled off here from an offense and defensive side of things, that I'm getting a top 5 offensive staff that's leaving Ole Miss, the number 1 team in the SEC in rushing over the last 6 years under Lane Kiffin. And then I look at an LSU defensive staff who reshaped a defense that was one of the worst in the SEC to what they are right now. Yeah, I do think that you have one of the best staffs in the entire country, if not just the SEC in general, if you don't want to go nationally. You know, if you want to go nationally, you look at Oregon and say, well, Dan Lanning's got to replace his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator. And I think LSU comes out on top on all of this, retaining a top staff defensively that I could make an argument, statistics taken out of it, is the top 10 defense in the country. But the reason the statistics lie to you in some regards is mainly due to the fact, well, offensively, you just couldn't move the ball. So let's talk about some of these other staff members that I guess now technically one of them being somewhat official with Kevin Smith. So yesterday, and as I mentioned earlier, Kevin Smith I had heard that was in the building. They made the trip with the other offensive staff members, and we'll be taking his talents to Baton Rouge from Oxford, Mississippi. And once LSU produced a video of Kevin Smith being in the building, I quote tweeted and said, hey, this is what the eye emojis were about. Kevin Smith is in the building. He's going to be your next running backs coach. And look, we have been speculating about this. We have been talking about this for quite some time. Frank Wilson hasn't been retained, at least not officially. Frank Wilson says that him and Lane Kiffin are going to make or have a discussion after the bowl game. Well, that was not true, clearly, because he was going to Ole Miss. So a lie was presented to the media in real time, and no one wanted to point that out. But I look at the video that LSU produced yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest that you do. LSU football on their social media accounts produced a video of Lane Kiffin bringing his offensive staff after they left Oxford into Baton Rouge, walking into the facility. And the biggest thing of all that, no, it's not Dane Stevens or Charlie Weiss or Joe Cox or any of that. It was who Lane Kiffin was opening up the door for and giddy about when he walked through, and that's Kevin Smith. So LSU had a quote-unquote running backs coach opening with Kevin Smith and Frank Wilson's departure and Kevin Smith coming in. And, guys, I know that we talked about this when Frank Wilson was announced that he was going to Ole Miss, but I'm going to repeat some of the same stuff here, but dive a little bit deeper into it. I think Kevin Smith is one of the best running backs coaches not only in the country but in the SEC. Guys, over the last 3 seasons, now he wasn't with Lane in 2022, but when he came back to Lane Kiffin in 2023, this team, the Ole Miss team, averaged 176 yards on the ground in 2023. Their worst season under Lane Kiffin, they still ran the football for 175.7 yards per game or per game. And then I look at this year, and they had 185.6 rushing yards per game. And then look at the running backs that Kevin Smith has produced over the last 3 seasons and the level of the production that he's produced over the last 3 seasons. And everyone says, well, Ole Miss didn't make a playoff last year because of what happened at the running back position. And instantly Kevin Smith fixed it by going and getting Kawan Lacey. What I see in bringing in Kevin Smith is going and getting and working and molding a guy like Quinshawn Judkins. What I see is going in the portal and getting a guy like Kawan Lacey, who leads the SEC in total touchdowns with 21. I look at you damn near being close to running for over 200 yards per game and doing something that LSU could not do over the last 3 seasons themselves. So I know that offensive line and the run game and the running backs, it's all we have a conversation about, well, Blake, LSU couldn't run the ball because of the O-line. Well, guys, Will Campbell might be one of the top 100 players in the country when it comes to the NFL side of things. If you've not seen Will Campbell play this year, I highly suggest that you do. He's been terrorizing the league. Because the running game and offensive staff that you're bringing in along with Kevin Smith, there's one thing that you cannot fake. And I talked about this with Sterling Lucas, who we'll get to in just a moment. I look at LSU bringing in Kevin Smith as their next running backs coach, and I see a head coach in Lane Kiffin that's very excited that he has his guy who has been his running backs coach 8 out of the last 9 seasons. The level of production that room that Kevin Smith has had at Ole Miss has been top tier. And one thing that you cannot fake in the SEC is the high level of production that Kevin Smith and his room has produced, whether it be Quinshawn Judkins in 2023 when he had 1,200 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns, or this season when it comes to Kawan Lacey, who has 1,366 rushing yards and 21 total touchdowns. Production in the SEC is not something that you can fake. When Ole Miss is going up against Oklahoma, who at the time had the number 1 run defense in the country, when they went up against Georgia and they had a top 5 run defense in the country, and I see them run for 7 total touchdowns in those 2 matchups against those 2 top premier defensive teams. Guys, coaches are loyal sometimes to a fault. And I know that there's been this whole rigmarole, if you will, about keeping Frank Wilson in relationships versus what Kevin Smith has actually produced. Because he's produced one of the best running back rooms in the SEC. Now, last year you could say, well, man, they had to do it by committee, and that's fine. But in Kevin Smith's worst season with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, last year their running back room went for over 20 total touchdowns. So in their worst season, they had 19 rushing touchdowns and had 4 receiving touchdowns. And I'm like, if that's the worst that you're going to do in the SEC, sign me up, because LSU in a running game and running backs room seems like it's digressed. It seems like it's taken a step back. And that's not a shot at Frank, because it has. You've relied on 2 true freshmen to be your bell cows when they didn't need to be. Guys, there's something to be said about Lane Kiffin. There's something to be said about Kevin Smith, and that the best, in my opinion, the best offensive mind in college football and Lane Kiffin wanting this guy. What does that say? You know, it reminds me of like what defensive guys do under Saban. It reminds me of Saban in a way. Hey, man, there's one guy that I cannot live without. There's one guy without a shadow of a doubt that I want to go and get. So I told you when I sent out the eye emoji tweet that I heard that Kevin Smith was in the building. The best recruiting job that Lane Kiffin has done so far has probably been not only to Kevin Smith, but to his wife and getting his family here. Because I'm sure that it was, no, not 6'7", but there were a lot of conversations that need to be had, and making him the highest paid running backs coach in the country. You know, I was told yesterday that Lane Kiffin personally was walking not Kevin Smith around the facility, but wanting his wife and his family to feel welcome about the move that they just made. You know, we can talk about and have the debates and have the arguments, Frank Wilson versus Kevin Smith. The only quote-unquote debate or argument that I talk about, what is the level of production that Kevin Smith's room has had over the last 3 years in the SEC? The sample size of the last 3 years. All right. Well, I got Quinshon Judkins with 17 total touchdowns and a running back room that had over 20. I have last season where they had over 20. In their worst year, they still averaged 176 yards per game rushing, and they still were productive, weren't elite. They couldn't separate. But if that's the worst that's going to happen, it's still a massive upgrade from where you're at. You know, over the last 3 seasons for ourselves, 2023, LSU ran the football for 204.5 yards per game. Well, Blake, we had Jane Daniels. You're right. Jane Daniels averaged 94.5 yards per game on the ground. If you take that out, the running backs were only at 110. This year, you averaged 106 rushing yards per game, and the previous year, 116. Because when you have offensive problems, the guy that's having a lot of high-level production in the SEC, yeah, sign me up for it. I will tell you this from what I've heard. Lane Kiffin wanted Kevin Smith more than anything. I'm sure he wanted Dane Stevens. I'm sure he wanted Charlie Weiss Jr. I'm sure he wanted a lot of these guys. But you don't build a level of connection the way that you do when you spent 8 of the last 9 years with the same human being. The biggest lie that is told about Lane Kiffin, no, it's not hot yoga or whatever, whatever lies you want to bring up. The biggest lie that's out there about Lane Kiffin is that the running game, he's not a more of a running game guy when it comes to offense. Everything that Ole Miss does, everything that Lane Kiffin or Ole Miss did, everything that Ole Miss did, everything Lane Kiffin does is predicated of how they do things out of the run game. I love the Kevin Smith hire, man. I think it is a massive grand slam level hire. I do. Because I look at 2 running backs in Quinshon Judkins and Kawan Lacey and say, guys, those have been 2 of the best backs, maybe not even just in the SEC, but some would debate the country. Based off of what Kawan Lacey has done, based off of what Quinshon Judkins did. By the way, Quinshon Judkins only had 1,200 yards with Kevin Smith in 2023. The funny thing about that is Kevin Smith's down year was nothing that predicated off of him, but more because of money. And Quinshon Judkins moving on. But Quinshon Judkins in 2023 missed games, guys. was out of games and still had 1,200 yards rushing. I think that this is a massive deal. Again, we talked about the last 3 seasons. We've talked about the loyalty with Lane Kiffin. I know you want to talk about recruiting, but here's what I say. Quinshon Judkins and Kawan Lacey. That's what I talk about. I talk about the high level of production of a team and a unit. Guys, Ole Miss led the SEC the last 6 years in rushing. How do you win football games? You know, I tweeted this last night in prep over Fino and Joe's show. What do all of these teams have in common? All the teams in the playoff that they have in common is they stop the run at a high level and they run the ball at a high level, besides Alabama. All of them. You win and lose games. You win and lose championships up front. Ask Texas A&M. Ask Texas A&M. I think that this is a massive hire, and I think that you look at this situation and just say to yourself, you're bringing over an offensive staff that was top 5 in the country at Ole Miss with a top 25 staff, and I think they're top 10 in Blake Baker and company. So you finally assembled all the Avengers. And here's where we are. All right. Not the only coaching search talk that we need to talk about. So Starling Lucas, it was reported on Friday, and I know that we did a segment and we posted it on YouTube. Highly suggest you go listen to that on YouTube. But they're finalizing deals with Starling Lucas. This is what I'll tell you, the defensive line coach. He's an edge, outside linebackers coach. We've talked about him at great length on Friday. We'll talk about him a little bit more here. But as of Saturday morning, this is what I had been hearing. Shane Beamer does not want to lose Starling Lucas and has prepared to do those things that he needs to. But I think Starling Lucas looks at a situation of probably wanting to jump off the ship before it sinks with Shane Beamer. Look, very quickly, I talked about this with Starling Lucas, whether he's at edge, whether he's in the interior. He has been a massive deal when it comes to recruiting. They're probably, and you could make the argument from SEC defensive line or edge guy, there's not a coach that has taken more high of a leap inside the coaching fraternity more than Starling Lucas from a defensive line perspective. Kyle Kennard last year led the SEC in sacks. He went and recruited and landed Dylan Stewart. Yeah. I thought I had a brain freeze there. He went out and landed Brian Thomas Jr., not our Brian Thomas Jr. But the thought process that I've had, whether it be Kevin Smith, and I talked about this with Starling Lucas, you can't fake production. I see a guy in Starling Lucas, if this ultimately comes through and you solidify your staff here, I look at a position group and I look at Starling Lucas, if he's in the interior, exterior, I don't really care where he is. You got a lot of talent that you get to work there. One thing that I picked up on after this Starling Lucas thing went down, I was listening to a lot of people over at South Carolina, and they were telling us that, listen, yes, you talk about Clayton White. Yes, you talk about all these things from South Carolina defensively and how good they were in their front seven. Guys, they gave all of the credit to Starling Lucas, especially when it comes to run game defensively, about him being over what to do schematically in situations and game planning in the run defense. Now, he doesn't have to do that with Blake Baker, but you have a guy that's highly leveled himself to being in a situation where he's been a very massive high riser. Now, as things on paper aren't finalized, here's what I tell you. Why is Starling Lucas offering recruits to go to LSU? If you hadn't seen it, you got recruits out there saying that Starling Lucas is offering them to go to LSU. Let's see how this all plays out. Elijah Robinson, as we talked about on Friday, is going to Texas A&M. He's crazy for doing that. Absolutely insane for doing that. But I think Starling Lucas is a slam dunk. I think the dude's production was top tier. In South Carolina, the last 2 seasons faced brutal schedules. And all I keep seeing is high levels of production. So I talk about these last two staff hires. I talk about bringing in Kevin Smith. I talk about bringing in Sterling Lucas and that being finalized. And the thought process that just continues to come in my mind is you can have whatever opinion that you want. You can say whatever you want about Kevin Smith replacing Frank Wilson. You could have any thought process that you want in reference to Sterling Lucas. Does he move the interior, exterior? Regardless of any of that, here's the truth. The truth of the matter is both of them have high levels of production from their room in the SEC against top-tier tough opponents. You know, I think of Kevin Smith. I think of them knocking off Georgia last year, the SEC champion. The SEC champion of last year with a running game that was getting rebuilt. And they beat him. I look at Georgia this year and I look at, well, what did Ole Miss do in scoring 5 straight touchdowns against Georgia? Okay, well, they had 4 rushing touchdowns in the red zone. 4 rushing touchdowns in the red zone. I look at Sterling Lucas and say, wait a minute, you recruited one of the best defensive ends in the country. He loves you. He is a sack-producing machine when healthy. The guy that you got out of the portal that not a lot of people wanted, and Kyle Kennard, led the SEC. Oh, and by the way, a guy that you recruited and developed from within had 8.5 sacks and double-digit tackles for loss this year when, guys, your edge room could not produce sacks to save their lives. Production in the SEC translates. It translates. So now you're going to have to make an argument. So when you talk about a staff, you mean to tell me that they can do it at South Carolina and Ole Miss, but now the perception is that they can't do it at LSU. How dumb do you look when you say that? You cannot ever fake production. And when production's at that high of a level, yes, sign me up. So the two, in rounding out your staff here, and rounding out the total staff of what you've brought in, I think that you've knocked this out of the park. Verge Osbury and Scott Ballard and Wade Roos and the entire administration bringing in Lane Kiffin, Lane bringing in his entire offensive staff, you working your asses off to make Blake Baker one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in the country and a top 10 unit, and I am going to say a top 10 unit staff-wise, and then bringing in on the defensive line, bringing in a guy potentially in Sterling Lucas who's had some of the highest level of production from a recruiting standpoint and a production standpoint. I think that you're one of the best staffs in the entire SEC. So Lane Kiffin could hear this. He could see the clips on TikTok or social media, which, by the way, go follow us on TikTok. He can hear all that, and everybody will say it's rat poison. Sure, it may be rat poison, but it's also potentially the truth. It's more than likely the truth. I am giddy about what you've done from this staff. I think that you have knocked this out of the park. I think that this is going to be one of the best staffs in the SEC. And I'm excited for it. All right. Let me do this. I see a lot of super chats getting in here. Let me get to a quick break. We'll come back, get the super chats. We'll talk a little bit of portal, and we'll answer your super chats. All right. Stay with us.
Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by.
We're back. Fat and Penn Jones, just want to tell you thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate for those super chats that y'all have sent. Y'all are still here. Brian Pitton with a $5 super chat says, have we seen the last of the Tasmanian Mormon? His last home game in the Dome, if he does not go to another team, I think he will go to the Broncos. Brian, I'm not a Saints guy. I have no clue. I just watch the Saints. I am not an insider there. I have no clue. Yeah, buddy, I appreciate the super chat. I have absolutely no clue. Young on YouTube with a $2 super chat says, how Wolford mold an O-line of presumably transfers? At least in year one, yes. And so listen, here's a couple of things. Something that I've noticed with Eric Wolford, boy, he's offering a lot of kids out of the Midwest. It's what I've noticed. The bottom line here is, man, there's nobody that has a bigger rebuild. I think you can go in the portal and get two backs that can be highly productive. What if Harlan Berry does stay? What if Keywan Lacey does go into the portal? I'll get to Keywan Lacey in just a moment in reference to what I'm hearing with him in the portal. You got five guys that you got to produce here. I think Ori Williams is really intriguing to me. Carius Kern is going to more than likely play in the bowl game. I think he just plans to enter his name in the portal. They got to recruit him and hold on to him. One of the biggest retentions, you can't lose Harlan Berry. You can't lose DJ Pickett. You can't lose Trey'Dez Green. You also can't lose Carius Kern, in my opinion. If it's coming down, let me just say this. I know for a fact it's not coming down to money. It's coming down to relationships with him. And you're going to have to mold and build that. Listen, man, if I'm Eric Wolford, I'm telling him, go look at Tyler Booker. If I'm Eric Wolford, I'm getting Tyler Booker on FaceTime and letting him talk to Carius Kern. Because when Eric Wolford came to LSU, I saw Tyler Booker take to social media and be like, bro, that dude, coach is a dog. Wolford's a dog. And so I'm like, that might be the best interior offensive lineman from the rookie class. It might be one of the best interior offensive linemen in the NFL. You got to keep Carius Kern. But yes, presumably through the portal to start off here. Johnny Rod became a member on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And so did A Trucker Travels, which we'll talk about Trucker Travels in just a minute because he sent in a massive super chat. Tiger Vibes with a $5 super chat says, Blake just wanted to say, keep doing what you do, man. Merry Christmas and go Tiger. Yeah, Tiger Vibes is a big follower of us on Twitter. Massive follower for us. Tiger Vibes, I love you, man. Keep doing what you do too, buddy. Lucas Abear with a $2 super chat says, do you think he will leave us to go to Bama? Who? Lane? Here's what I think about this whole thing with Kiffin and Bama. It's funny that they want him now. I think Lane knows that he fits more with LSU than he does Bama. And I don't think that Bama will ever go to him. And I think Saban told him that, to be blunt. If Saban knew that job was coming open, he would have told him. A Trucker Travels with a $100 super chat. Thank you so much. He also became a member earlier, humbled. And I hope that you have a very, very Merry Christmas. Thank you for the massive, massive super chat here. Get Good. Holy smokes. $200 super chat. Thank you so much, Get Good. Send me, DM me your address. When we start the new year, we're sending you guys some stuff that have been doing stuff like this. So send me your address. I greatly appreciate it. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you. I hope y'all have a great one. By the way, I got to whisper this. So everybody listening. Dog, when I got a phone call yesterday about Kevin Smith being in LSU's building, I was putting some of y'all going to have kids. Earmuff your kids. Pause it right quick. If you got kids near, pause it. Fast forward. Let me just say it like this. I was helping Santa with some stuff. I'll just say it like that. And when I was helping Santa with stuff, and I got the call about Kevin Smith, I could hear them playing some music in the background. So Merry Christmas. I don't know what made me think of that. I think the Go Tigers, but I don't know. They're playing holiday music. That's all that I know. So Trucker Travels and Get Good. Thank y'all so much, man. Greatly humbled and honored. Greatly, greatly humbled. DM me your address. Get Gooder, he says. Not one for correcting people, but I figured I'd tell you. DM on what? Whichever platform. DM me on whatever platform, and we'll get some stuff to you. Get Gooder. I just said Get Good, but Get Gooder. I'll call you Get Gooder from now on. But DM me on whatever platform. Starting the new year, we're launching this. We're going to be launching this merch game. Y'all been asking for it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I'm going to send all you guys stuff who are doing stuff like that for us. Greatly humbled. Chandler Pope with a $2 super chat says, is there a world that we get Stewart and Lacey? So let me get into the portal. Micah, I see your massive super chat, dude. I'm just so humbled by what you've been doing for us. Let me get to the portal really quickly since this question's open. So Lane Kiffin tweeted and has been tweeting the 1, 2, 16 or 26. Listen, I want to bring up a couple of things about the portal very quickly. I'm going to get to Kawan Lacey and Stewart in just a moment. If you remember the last two off seasons when guys went into the portal, most guys had a pretty damn good idea about where they were going. Like, I give an example. Like when Barryon Brown entered the portal, everyone pretty much knew that he was going to LSU. When Eric Singleton entered the portal, people pretty much knew where he was going. To give you an idea of this process, agents are already talking to coaches about their needs and money behind the scenes, and they're already negotiating all of this. LSU over the last week with Billy Glasscock and this week, they have already been negotiating a lot of this, and that's why I think that your offensive staff, mainly your offensive staff being in the building, the way that it is, it's to signify, and it's why LSU posted the video, if we're being blunt. It's to signify, hey, man, everybody's here. There is no speculation, even though some teams in the portal are saying that, oh, well, their all offensive staff's not in the building. What are you going to do? LSU got negatively recruited, and the portal's not even open. But here's the truth, guys. The portal is open. We're letting semantics and a legality of the rule talk about these guys not being in the portal. The hell they're not. They're going in the portal. Now, could things change? Like, could Carius Kern come back and you get him to stay? Sure. So you could use it to your advantage. But there are a couple of guys that we need to keep our eyes on. Sam Leavitt being number one. I think Chaz Coleman, the big-time edge guy out of Penn State, he's from Ohio. I think Ohio State is the front runner there. And when he enters the portal, I expect him to go to Ohio State. It's not fair to Penn State people. I get it, but you fired your head coach. What did you think was going to happen? But I think LSU will try to get involved with both of those. In reference to Kawan Lacey, this is what I've been told now that Kevin Smith is in the building. There's going to be a conversation with Kawan Lacey at the end of the season. So let's just say January the 2nd when this portal opens, because I think that they're losing to Georgia. And when this season opens, I think Kawan Lacey's got a choice to make. Do they want him? You're damn right they want him. Guys, let's just be blunt. Does that mean that like a Caden Durham's going to move on or a Harlan Berry? I hope not. But guys, you not only is your entire offensive staff going to be brand new, guys, you're going to have a lot of brand new players just on offense. You're going to have new quarterbacks. You're going to have new running backs. You're going to have new receivers. You're going to have new offensive linemen. It's a complete sweep. It's a complete sweep. So I've just been told that Keywan Lacey and everyone is going to have conversations behind closed doors about what his future is going to be. I would lean, from what I've been told, I would lean that he's going to enter his name into the portal. And if he doesn't, there's just a lot of conversations that are going to be had. And I think everyone kind of knows where he leans there. In reference to Dylan Stewart, I have no clue. I really don't. I don't know what his contract says. They gave him a contract extension at South Carolina. I don't know if he's got to pay back money. Like, all of those things, I have no clue on. I couldn't tell you. Let's see what happens there. But I will tell you there are a couple of players that I'm keeping my eyes out on. I think edge is a massive for defense. I think edge and experienced defensive tackles is where I'm looking. A safety is where I'm looking. Maybe even a backer. But I look at just a couple of players in the top of the transfer portal right now, like Wendell Gregory, who was with who got recruited by Sterling Lucas and then transferred to Oklahoma State. He has a connection with him there. Does he want to go to LSU? I look at Amarion Miller, who is a wide receiver from inside the state of Louisiana. He had 808 receiving yards this year and 8 touchdowns. I think that is very interesting to me. And by the way, had a very, very bad offensive situation with Deion in Colorado. I think Amarion Miller is a really good player. Those are a couple of guys that I'm looking at. They have their portal board ready. And I'm telling you, man, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, interior offensive line is where they're going. It is 1,000% where they're going. So we talk about the portal. I mean, Sam Levitt, I think, is still going to be in a conversation that you're going to have. Wendell Gregory, Chaz Coleman, Amarion Miller, just to name a few. But they're going to go for a lot more. Guys, I really believe that you're going to try to get north of 15. When I said last week that 15 portal players is where I'd go, and I told you then, I'll tell you now, I think that's highly conservative. I think it's highly, highly conservative from where we sit. Micah Holton with a $200 super chat says, can I take credit for starting this trend? Yes, you kind of can. You and Ricky Pope. He says, I'm excited for this new era of LSU football. Proud administration for keeping their hands out of the lane train. You can. I mean, again, dude, I don't really know what to say. You know, you guys have blessed me in doing this. We do it full time. I mean, it's all that I do. Y'all keep blessing me. So, Micah, I got your DM, man. We'll be sending you stuff. And listen, I am greatly humbled. You did start it. Now look at what everybody's doing during the Christmas season. This has been by far the biggest. You know, when I left my former employer in January of 2024, I mean, I just looked my wife in the face and said, listen, we got to go for it. I mean, I'm always going to kick myself if I don't go for it here. And then I've just been humbled by you guys, really and truthfully. Y'all are fantastic. Y'all are absolutely fantastic. I can't even start to tell you how grateful I am. So, Micah, yes, and maybe we'll send you a very big goodie bag after when this thing gets launched. Get good says get gooder. Yeah, I got you, buddy. I appreciate it. I really, 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 really do. All right, a couple more, then we'll get out of here. But in reference to Michael Holton's, let me just bring this back up. He says, proud administration for keeping their hands out of the lane train. I was talking about that this morning. I was doing a radio hit this morning in Shreveport or Monroe. And I think that's Verge Osbury's superpower. You know, I was really worried about Verge. And I'll be openly honest with that. Very worried about Verge. Guys, here's what Verge Osbury's been doing. He's told Lane Kiffin, I'm going to let you coach. I'm going to learn from my predecessor and Scott Woodward, who did a horrible job in meddling, and I'm going to stay out of it. What do you need? And, guys, it's one thing when you hire – listen to me. When you hire a new head coach, everything is unicorns and rainbows. Everything is unicorn and rainbows. No one can do no wrong. So when you hear Lane Kiffin say, yeah, Verge told me he's going to let me coach and he's going to stay out of my way and he's going to try to help me do anything and everything he can to give me the resources to win championships, that's why I came here. I believe him. You know why? Because Jay Johnson said the same thing the week before Lane Kiffin was even announced. Jay goes to a podium, the best coach on your campus, okay, by far, and said, listen, I hadn't had a lot of conversations with Verge other than here and there, whatever. And he's come to baseball facility like 5 times when he's trying to hire a head coach and goes, Jay, what do you need? Jay, what do you need? Jay, what do you need? What do you need? We need a roll. We need to roll with this. What do you need? Verge understands this. Verge understands where the bread's buttered. And he knows it starts with Jay Johnson too. Guys, let me tell you something that I've learned without a shadow of a doubt in covering LSU. There are a lot of massive donors. I'll give an example from Lane Kiffin's press conference. When Jay Johnson walked into the room for the Lane Kiffin press conference, all of the boosters that were sitting in the dead center row, all of them, I'm not exaggerating, all of them stood up and went to greet him, and Jay was, making the rounds himself. It doesn't matter how you want to slice this. LSU is a football and baseball school. Those same guys that are doing the same thing for Kiffin are doing the same thing for Jay. You better keep Jay happy is what I'm trying to say. And Verge understands that. So then you got Jay talking to all of the boosters, and then here comes Verge. Jay, what do you need? It's been a great thing of alignment. I was massively worried about the governor who's been staying out of this to some extent, other than, look, I mean, say what you want. You talk about politics, and there's always massive comments in here. Here's just a fact. There are people that weren't donating to NIL LSU, and I think Landry and company got people to put their money where their mouth is because they want natties. That is just the truth. And you're about to see what's going to happen here in the portal. Guys, LSU is going to be throwing cash. This place got stupid money. You didn't get to see it until last year from a football perspective, mainly due to the fact that Scott Woolward was a buffoon. Guys, you had Colin Simmons. Boy, when I was in Dallas for the Decorian Moore commitment, some conversations were had. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But you're not going to do that now. You're not going to do that now. All right. I got to get out of here. We got Ruffino and Joe show at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Let me say this. We'll be back tomorrow, but let me just say this. To all of y'all who have blessed me, I can't tell you. I am excited about this staff. It's a great time. Everybody's excited. I am humbled and grateful for all of you. It's going to be fun. I don't say this lightly. I think you have one of the best staffs in all of the SEC. I really, really, really do. So all of y'all have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you again tomorrow. We'll see you again tomorrow. Making sure I didn't miss anything. Did I miss anything? No? Making sure. All right, we didn't from a Super Chat perspective. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all soon. Go over to the Ruffino Joe show if you got nothing to do. We break down the college football games from the national perspective. That's what we're going to do. All right. See y'all soon. You have a good day. Peace.